Stay after the service to get acquainted. We welcome your questions and look forward to getting to know you. Later in the service today, we will take our Share the Plate offering as a way to care for the wider world. This month's Share the Plate recipient is Side with Love. And I don't know if you've noticed the Side with Love big yellow sign right between these windows here. Side with Love is a public advocacy campaign sponsored by the Unitarian Universalist Association that seeks to harness love's power to stop oppression. They have 4 focus areas: climate justice, decriminalization, voting rights, and bodily autonomy. During the offering later, you may put cash or a check in the basket or donate online from our website, uunorthfield.org. If your check is for your pledge, simply write pledge on the memo line. There will also be instructions on the screen during offertory time. I also call your attention to the announcements in your order of service and weekly email. There you'll find more information about, for example, today after the service, there will be a presentation from the Building Vision Group. Please come for an update on the potential addition and the next steps in the process. All are welcome. For members and friends of UUFN who have not yet uploaded a photo into their Breeze account, our new church database, Paul Krause, back there, has a camera to take your picture after the service, and John Owens can assist in putting it in Breeze. Is John here? Not at the moment. Join us next Sunday when we welcome Reverend Schuler Vogel back to UUFN. Schuler is a UU minister and the chaplain at Carleton College. And one more tender announcement to share. The memorial service for John Fraz will be here at UUFN next Saturday, February 17th at 3 p.m. The service will also be live streamed on our regular Sunday morning Zoom link. It will be good to gather to remember John. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northfield. Thank you.
Good morning, all. I am the Reverend Sara Smalley, she, her pronouns. I serve this congregation as its minister. Today is the first in a three-part sermon series on the proposed Article 2 values of justice and equity, what that means. Delegates to the Unitarian Universalist General Assembly this summer will vote to add these values to our denomination's bylaws. Today, we are focusing on the value of justice with this call to action. As Unitarian Universalists, we work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large. We work here to be a diverse, multicultural, beloved community where all thrive, where you thrive, where those who have been here for decades thrive, where those becoming new members today thrive, where those here for the first time or those who have yet to find us will thrive. We work to build a world that thrives. It's almost painfully beautiful to imagine that kind of world. It seems impossible at times. But together we hold that impossible hope, and we gather at UUFN to practice justice on a small scale as we work for it on a global scale. In that spirit, our opening words, our prayer for the morning by Reverend Audette Fulbright Fulson. Did you rise this morning broken and feeling almost hung over with weariness and pain, and rage tattered from waving too long in a brutal wind? Get up, child. Pull your bones upright, gather your skin and muscle into a patch of sun. Draw breath deep into your lungs. You will need it, for another day calls to you. I know you ache. I know you wish the work were done and you, with everyone you have ever loved, were on a distant shore, safe and unafraid. But remember this, tired as you are not alone. Here and here and here also, there are others weeping and rising and gathering their courage. You belong to them and they to you, and together we will break through and bend the arc of justice all the way down into our lives. Come, let us find hope in our gathering and joy in our connection. Come, let us worship together.
The flaming chalice is a symbol of the Unitarian Universalism, a beacon of hope that lights the path of just love and justice. Each Sunday when we gather, we bring this symbol to life together. Please join me in speaking the words for lighting of the chalice. Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to learn what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 323 in the gray hymnal, Break Not the Circle.
Break not the circle, make it wider still. Today we have the joyful honor of welcoming new members to UUFN. Membership is not a requirement for participation in this community. All of you visitors and sometimes attendees and friends and non-members are welcome here today and every Sunday. Instead, membership is an intentional statement of covenant, a statement that how we tend to our relationships within and beyond this community matter, and a recognition that we are in this together. I invite those who will become new members today to now come forward. And there are a couple of chairs here for people who prefer to sit. Otherwise, you can line up in front of the chancel here. You can do a full line right up here, starting over here. We didn't do a stage direction. Looking that way at your people. I know there's a lot. We're gonna be cozy up here. Today we celebrate that you have chosen to join this congregation. We are delighted that this community, beloved by so many, has taken root in your hearts as well. I invite our soon-to-be new members to introduce yourself by name that we may know each of you, and we're going to use this microphone. Would you start? Just introduce yourself with your name, and then we'll pass it down the row so we know all who are gathered here.
Roland Davidson.
Mary Davidson.
Lynn Twing.
Hi, John Twing, he, him pronouns.
Wendell Rayfior.
Linda Rosen.
Jean Hood.
Lisa Hood.
Charlie Neef.
Joe Rennick.
Katla Fond.
Laura Gerber, she, her.
Aaron Gerber.
And you can hang on to that. Would Martha and Paul also join me up here? And as they are walking forward, I will also mention that Marla is also joining us in membership today, but could not be here. Goes with Wendell. And Nancy Cedar is also joining as a new member today, but is out of town, so could not be here. She will sign the membership book later this month, but they are fully included in this new member cohort. Will the current members of the congregation please rise as you are able for our new member ceremony? The words are printed in the insert in your order of service. I will begin. To become a member of this congregation is a commitment to engage with this community of faith in caring for one another, searching for truth and making meaning, working for justice, and learning to live in ever more loving, right relationship with ourselves, each other, and the world. These are not always easy things to do. That is why we covenant to do them together.
We welcome you as we were once welcomed ourselves. We seek to be open and inclusive, respecting your inherent worth and dignity, accompanying you in your search for truth and meaning, and opening our hearts to your wisdom, both when it is easy and in times when it is difficult.
This congregation seeks to be supportive, not only when you reach out in courage to us, but also when you need us to reach out to you. In return, we ask that you recognize our humanity we will not always live up to our ideals. Together, we build a community of giving and receiving, a network of mutuality.
Well, hearing your affirmation to join together with this community and the commitments the congregation has made to you, it is my honor to welcome you as new members of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northfield.
New members, welcome indeed. In a moment, you are invited to sign the membership book, which is over there where Paul, right behind where Charlie is standing. This is the same book from when the congregation was founded 58 years ago. There is also a little welcome gift for each of you. I'll do a little show and tell for it so others can see what it is. You will each family will get one of the bags that is over there, which includes the Unitarian Universalist Pocket Guide, which is a lovely and wonderful book about our faith, a welcome to our community pamphlet, a what do you use believe wallet card, a sticker for your water bottle or car bumper sticker or computer, and a little chalice, travel chalice, that includes both kid safe or fire safe flame and a regular match. There's multiple versions of light for you to carry with you today. So please make sure you grab one of those per family after you sign the book. All are invited now to rise and embody your spirit as we sing our song of celebration, and you sign the membership book, number 1021, Lean on Me, and then you can walk or dance back to your chairs when you are done. am trying to also monitor Zoom chat, so that is why I am looking distracted right now. I also forgot that we have two members who were members back in the day who are rejoining, so welcome again to rejoin the membership book. What a joyful moment of connection with these people here and those who will sign the membership book. We will have 16 new members today, which I was paging through the book might be a record. There is something magical happening here. We all need somebody to lean on. It is the great task of the religious community to share our soaring hopes and our deepest griefs. Will you take a breath with me? It is our practice in this community to pause every week to get in touch with the truths of our lives, our joys and sorrows, our hopes and fears. What is true for you this week? What is lifting you up or weighing you down? All of who you are is welcome here. In the presence of a love that abides, we use our chalice flame to light our candles of community. We light our first candle as a blessing for the wider world. Winter in Minnesota with no snow and 50 degrees, devastating storms and landslides in California, Atlantic Ocean circulation collapsing. Our bodies, our hearts, our minds feel the fear and the grief of climate change. May this candle both provide respite and kindle our resolve to care for the interdependent web of which we are a part. We know too that the details of our daily lives are sacred and important. We light a candle for all the simple joys that are sustaining us, and we light another candle in honor of the sorrows and hardships we may be facing, in honor of the sorrows and joys we carry in our hearts, but that have not been spoken out loud. May the embrace of this community hold all of our joys and sorrows, those named and those that remain silent, close to our hearts. May we be transformed by the spirit of life and love, with warmth to celebrate our joys, and with gentleness to soothe our aching hearts as we enter into the silence we now share. Amen, and blessed be. Before we move into our reading, late breaking news. I was trying to monitor chat and I did a bad job of it because there was chat. We also have Kamisha Wynn and Charles Miles will also be joining in membership today. We welcome you. We are glad you are here. Sorry I missed it earlier, but now you have your moment. Mary Jane.
Our reading today is from a UU meditation manual to wake, to rise, meditations on justice and resilience. This is Faithless Works by UU minister and poet Reverend Dr. Jennifer Kwong. They say faith without works is dead, so I worked for equality. Next to my queer friends who wanted to get married. And I worked for religious freedom, next to my Muslim friends who were accused of being terrorists. And I worked for racial justice, next to my Black friends whose lives were affected by police brutality. Yet I didn't feel fully alive even after working myself to death, until I let my work become a spiritual practice, until I let go of my attachment to the outcome, until I stopped chasing after political issues, one after another. I still believe faith without works is dead, but works without faith is just as lifeless. We will now gratefully give and receive our Share the Plate offering for the Side with Love campaign. We proudly have the Side with Love banner hanging on the side of our building, and this month we share our generosity with them as they work to unleash love's power in the world. This is one way we make our care for the world tangible. And will the ushers please come forward to receive our offering?
In his book, Spiritual Defiance, Building a Beloved Community of Resistance, Minister Robin Myers proclaims, "The church is dead, long live the church." Perhaps we fear the first half of the slogan, is the church dying? Is it dead? Yet we fail to consider the more intriguing second half, long live the church. It begs the question, says Myers, that even though old ways of being in church are indeed dying or dead, does the spirit of beloved community ever die? The book Spiritual Defiance makes the case that changing the forms church takes, better technology, better marketing, better bylaws and committee structures, more meetings to turn things around, are important tools, but they are not the life-saving measures we think they are. Myers writes, "This would be writ large at the top of the church's death certificate. The beloved community was born in resistance to the established order of death and indignity. It was concealed like leaven in the imperial loaf, germinating as a secret and subversive colony of heaven, a body of noncompliance with the principalities and powers. But now we are as complacent, as compliant, as the subjects of any empire, embracing what we are taught to value and resisting nothing that threatens our comfort, our success, our reputation, or our safety. Cause of church death, compliance." Compliance, resisting nothing that threatens our comfort, our success, our reputation, or our safety. What is needed, says Myers, and I agree, what is needed is for our congregations to become communities of resistance, defiant communities that offer a true alternative to the spiritual violence of the wider culture. Congregations thrive when they are brave enough to. Almost 2,000 years ago, our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors were proud heretics against growing doctrinal pressures in early Christianity, questioning orthodoxy and pushing back against empire. And today, we welcomed our new total, 18 new members to UUFN. For the last 2,000 years, and up to this moment, on February 12th, 2024 in Northfield, Minnesota, Unitarian Universalism has offered something countercultural and life-giving. The culture tells us to isolate when we are struggling, to hide our grief and our struggles and don the mask of toxic positivity. Everything's fine. To prioritize politeness instead of truth, to hate our bodies and our bank accounts, to blame the poor, the houseless, the immigrant for their troubles and our taxes. The dominant culture tells us there is an us and a them, an us here, the poor out there. The dominant culture tells us in subtle and profound ways that whiteness, that lightness is better, smarter, more worthy. That enacting masculinity is the way to gain respect and power. Not here. Or at least we're trying to make it different here. Again, from spiritual defiance, building a beloved community of resistance. Far too much attention has been given to how successfully or unsuccessfully the church markets a culturally acceptable form of spirituality, while far too little has been given to church as a community of resistance. By resistance, I do not mean simply to be a drag on something, as when resistors are used to regulate the flow of electricity. And neither do I mean by resistance only that we should march more by protesting in the streets, although that may sometimes be called for. Nor do I mean that we should be more obstinate or cranky, a kind of cultural contrarian, complaining about how nothing is like it used to be. Why can't we sing the old hymns? And where have all the young people gone? I'm talking instead, Myers concludes, about resistance as a form of direct or indirect action, opposing anything in the dominant culture that brings death and indignity to any member of the human family or to creation itself. Resistance is not always marching in the streets, and it's not being contrarian or disruptive to community. Resistance in this sense is a form of direct or indirect action, opposing anything in the dominant culture that brings death and indignity to any member of the human family or to creation itself. Let us be a people of resistance. Let this be a place where justice and joy rise and all thrive. But how? The poet says, I let my work become a spiritual practice. I still believe faith without works is dead, but works without faith is just as lifeless. Here's my hope, that whatever justice work you are most passionate about, this service will help you ground it in your spirituality, that you can have both faith and works. There was a great quote by Soren Kierkegaard, a lot of my ministerial colleagues were sharing on Facebook last week. People have an idea that the preacher is an actor on a stage and they are the critics blaming or praising him. What they don't know is that they are the actors on the stage. The preacher is merely the prompter standing in the wings, reminding them of their lost lines. Thinking about justice as an individual and a collective spiritual practice means we shift in thinking. For the remainder of this reflection today, we will think about justice as an individual spiritual practice to help you remember your lost line. Next week, Reverend Vogel will offer a reflection on a Unitarian Universalist theology of justice. And the following Sunday, I'll preach about justice as a collective spiritual practice. I mention all of that because I don't want it to seem like today I'm saying individual reflections are enough. An individual being nicer doesn't actually change systemic injustice and oppressive misuse of power in our society. But recognizing injustice in our own lives is an act of spiritual defiance and a starting point for not perpetuating it further. Justice as a spiritual practice means we are called not to resist people, not to fight a perceived enemy, but to defy everything that is not love in the world and in ourselves, to be subversive again for the cause of love. Myers says, this is more complicated, more personal, and considerably more dangerous than our endless debates over correct doctrine and worship practices. The illusions about the world we have been taught must be unraveled, swept aside like those spider webs that often appear overnight to drape your doorway, the ones you do not see, but into which you walk unaware and suddenly feel clinging to your face. Everyone who walks in a spider web tries frantically to pull it off. Illusions are like that. They cling to us. The illusion that white, able-bodied, neurotypical, thin, wealthy, cis, healthy, happy bodies are the ideal clings to us. And here's the spiritual practice. We must resist that illusion, not just out there in the world in some abstract way, but in the stories we tell to and about ourselves. Reverend Gretchen Haley reminds us, sometimes the most critical protest begins at home, with the resistance to our usual patterns, to the rush, to the noise. It begins with sitting down with ourselves, looking into our own hearts, remembering who we are, collecting ourselves, who we hope to be and for whom, taking stock, giving thanks, believing we are already enough, and having eyes to see the miracle of life already unfolding. Or as Merrick Groot says, social change is an inside job. Social change starts as an inside job and then expands from there. So let's give this spiritual practice of resistance a try today. Here's how this will work And yes, it is about the Post-it notes in your order of service. The spiritual practice of Lectio Divina is an ancient way to interact with a text. This is a personal spiritual practice, so we will not be sharing these out loud, though you will eventually write them down so others may read them eventually anonymously. I'll explain each step in the process, so if you are feeling some concern, I invite you to just notice the resistance and move through it. Lectio Divina was traditionally used when reading scripture, but we will do a simplified and modified version of it with a contemporary reading from Talia Cooper, who is a singer, songwriter, body positive coach, and activist. Here's how it will work. In traditional Lectio Divina, we would spend significant time in silence before reading the text, then read it 3 times through, deepening our relationship with it each time, then again sit in silence afterwards. But because we are still ruled by white Protestant norms of having worship last approximately an hour, instead of however long it takes for the Spirit to move, I will only read it once. It is a long reading, so that's fair. But I do invite you to take a breath and feel a bit more centered and open as we begin. As I'm reading, listen for words or phrases that shimmer. That is at the heart of Lectio Divina. What are words or phrases that shimmer? Those ideas that spark something in you, even if you're not really sure why. For those in the sanctuary, you can jot down those words on one of the Post-it notes in your order of service, save the others for later. So the first one is just for your jotting down words and phrases that shimmer. If you're on Zoom, you can write them down on a piece of paper or type them into the chat if that is easier. Again, center yourself, open your heart to new wisdom, and as I'm reading, write down words and phrases that shimmer. You might have 1, you might have 10, there's no one right way to do this. The words of the text will be on the screen for those who take in information visually. If that is a distraction for you, ignore it. So make your choice of what works best for you. There are 2 parts to this reading. First is the diagnosis with 7 points, and then the cure. This is Forms of Resistance by Talia Cooper. The 7 jobs capitalism asks of all of us. 1, measure self-worth by work. Don't believe in the inherent goodness of people. Instead, decide that everyone's worth is only as much as they achieve. 2, accept that oppression is the norm. This starts with adultism, the bias that adults are better than young people and therefore have the right to control children. The moment we are born and conditions us to accept that all other forms of oppression and privilege are just a fact of life for the rest of our lives. 3, believe the dream. Believe that to be American means that your success is eventual and that any failing is your own individual fault. 4, get numb and number. Close off your feelings and just suck it up. Find a form of addiction that is either secret enough or socially acceptable enough so that you can get by. Then anyone with a less hidden addiction, blame them for the problem and offer them no support. 5, isolate. Grow increasingly more distant from people and community. Develop a nuclear family from whom you may attempt to get all your needs met and lash out at them when it doesn't work. 6, disassociate from your body. Make your mind and body separate entities. Find pieces of yourself to love and pieces of yourself to hate. Attempt to buy things to close the gap. Tell yourself that you only deserve rest, pleasure, and play when you've worked for it. 7, assimilate. Strive to look like, act like and be like the typical white USer you are supposed to be. Forget your history, forget your religion, forget your ancestors. They are no longer a part of this narrative. Stop trying to pursue the art, community, and visions you once had. They no longer matter. The 7 forms of resistance all around us. 1, movements. Collectives, groups, organizations, neighbors, and friends can get together and learn about oppression and envision liberation. Organizing has worked over and over again throughout history and will continue to. 2, self-care and community care. We can decide we are worth it and we are vital just because we are alive. 3, tell our stories. We can tell our personal stories and the collective story about the white supremacy, colonialism, patriarchy, and Christian hegemony that founded this country. With our stories, we can refuse to be lied to. 4, healing. We can use therapy, support groups, co-counseling, somatic practices, art therapy, and more to get ever bigger, bolder, stronger, and more powerful. We can use the wisdom gained from our healing to create better policy and support communal healing through practices like reparations for slavery. 5, connection. We can dare to cry, laugh, and share our real feelings with all of the people in our lives without placing a limit on the number of people our hearts can love. 6, love. We can refuse to buy into the idea of spreading self-hate. Even in our hardest moments, we can remember we are a human with a human body, and we deserve the goodness all humans deserve. 7, art and culture. Artists can rise up everywhere all the time to say, we will not accept this world, we will build a better one. We can choose to learn about our ancestors, their histories and traditions, and find ways to reclaim those that should be reclaimed afresh for ourselves. Earlier in this service, we said and heard statements of covenant with our new members. Now let us personalize and expand those words of hope and connection. Look at or think about those words and phrases that shimmered for you and the wider, the deeper message they hold. Think about those illusions that cling to you like cobwebs. What is a counter-cultural message of resistance and defiance the world needs to hear? Imagine someone entering into this building, weary with the weight of the world and doubting their own worth, stressed out, lonely, worried about a loved one. Maybe that person is you, but it is not only you. Imagine that person coming into this building, and I invite you to write a message to them on your second Post-it note, and the third one too, if you'd like to write more than one. Or if you'd rather make art or draw something instead of writing something, that's fine too. What would you want this person to know that is true in this sacred space? What is true here that we wish were true in the wider world? When you're done writing on your Post-it or Post-its, you can get up and stick one or more somewhere in this room for others to read, on the wall, on the name tag holder, on the chalice table, on a coffee mug, wherever seems right. Those in Zoom can share theirs in chat. There will be a few moments of silence now for you to collect your thoughts, and then we will listen to We Shall Be Known by the Thrive Choir. while you are finishing writing and moving around to stick your words of hope post-it notes somewhere in this room.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds to change a life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Yay.
Yay. As people are finishing up, I am seeing people still walking around. I will share two from chat on Zoom. 1, be not afraid, tell your story. 2, perfection is not a prerequisite. It is time now. It is time. It is time now that we thrive. It is time to tend the light in each of us and to tend this fire, our chalice flame, the blazing radiant light we create together. It is time now that you thrive, that we thrive, not just the we in this room, but an us that includes the marginalized beloveds of Northfield, the lonely who long to belong somewhere, the heartbroken, weighed down by a grief they have been told they have to carry alone, but cannot do so. The children, the parents, the young adults, the elders who sow and reap the seeds of change from deep within the earth, the seeds we plant and harvest together. It is time now that we thrive. You, me, all of us. Amen, and may it be so. Please rise in body or spirit for our hymn of affirmation, Fire of Commitment. In your teal hymnal. I love that song. You may be seated. Our closing benediction really is, for those here in the sanctuary, you being able to move around this space and read the blessings you have offered each other. I will also offer these words from the poet and prophet Audre Lorde, whose birthday is next week. And I dream of us coming together, encircled, driven not only by love, but by a lust for a working tomorrow, the flights of this journey, mapless, uncertain, as necessary as water. May we allow ourselves to dream of a world where each and all thrive, and may we each do our part to make that dream a reality. May it be so. We join together in the words for the extinguishing of our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And a reminder that the building vision information session will be after the service in a bit. When I said all are welcome, all are welcome. So if you have no idea what that even means, you are welcome to stay here and get background about this building vision process. And Julie will be able to stay some for childcare as well. Thank you, Julie. Please rise in body or spirit and with your hands over your heart, holding a hand of those next to you or whatever posture is most comfortable. We sing words of blessing one to another. Go in peace.
I'm wondering if anybody can hear us. We have a question.
I think it's just me.
Hi, I'm just wondering if it's possible for us to just stay on so that we can hear the meeting about the building project.
Let me, and then, but I'll leave you on for right now. I can see what you're planning on doing.
Karen must be having a good time down in Florida. Yeah.
Turn off the, you could turn off the recording if you want to. Unless, yeah.
Pardon me?
Do you want to turn the recording off?
Okay, no. Oh, are you gonna record it? Okay.
If it works to still see what's going on there, that would be lovely.
We're gonna leave the Zoom going so that you can hear it.
Okay.
You can hear what's being said and everything.
Okay,
Good.
That's great.
Thank you.
Well, I did not have success in, maybe I'll try it on my computer.